Hey guys, it's Wahima, but just call me Wah.
Melanated!
Hey guys, I'm back with another review slash recap of this week's Bachelorette. This is episode 4. We got gypped out of episode 4 for last week because of the stinking basketball game. So I watched last night. I went to Los Angeles to watch with my friend Chris Farrow, who, as you guys know, is an avid watcher of the Bachelor and Bachelorette series, and I got a little inside intel with this season. She was helping me out, answering some questions, making things a little bit more clear for me, and I love it when you guys clarify things for me as well, when you guys tell me a little bit of backstory about things that I didn't know or didn't realize, because you guys know I'm coming into this review slash recap ignorant. This is my very first season watching. So for this episode, first of all, thank you to those of you who dropped the tea on Lee, because with all of the knowledge and information that I had about him before I watched this episode, he just grinds my gear even more. So some of you out there told me that there were tweets that he had posted on Twitter about comparing the KKK with the NAACP, just not being down with the whole white privilege and the struggle that Black people face in this country. And honey, Rachel cannot pick Lee. He's a racist or a racist denier or whatever it is. Like, he can't be trusted. And also, I didn't like his behavior at all in this episode, you guys. Like, I felt like Justice Dean threw some shade in the little confessional, playing a game. He's only playing a game with a certain type of man in the house. And along with his Southern accent and those tweets, it leads me to a couple, if not just one main conclusion. But let's just jump right into this recap. Okay, we're gonna start with Lee dipping in on Kenny while Kenny was having his one-on-one with Rachel. Now, I didn't understand why Kenny got so upset until it was made clear that Lee had already had his time with Rachel, and he chose to interrupt Kenny's time with Rachel, and that made Kenny upset. He interrupted twice, which I completely understand. You remember in the first episode when I talked about Kenny being a real AN? I think that kind of showed itself in this episode, and I personally am not here for it. I understand why he reacted the way he did, but I don't think that he should have reacted the way he did. Dean was talking about how much he thinks that Lee is a little bitch for, you know, causing all the ruckus and stirring up all the shit. And when it was happening to Will, like, I wasn't as, was it Will or Eric? Eric. When it was happening to Eric, I wasn't as, like, against it, because I was like, this is what you do. But now that I'm realizing that this is, like, a group of men, and, like, Lee is not, he's playing the game in a way that makes you know that he's not really there for Rachel. He just wants to win. And then Lee giving her this, like, really corny plaque, like, with her name, like, scratched out of it. Like, he's just so disingenuous that, like, I don't know how Rachel can't see it. And maybe she does. Maybe she does. And maybe that was part of the breakdown. Dean basically calls Lee out for being a racist and says that he picks fight with Black people. And I think that Dean is absolutely right. I also think that Dean is so cute. When Brian has his conversation with her, he's talking about how he's going to focus on her and how he's not dealing with any of the drama in the house. And she was so thankful for that. I also love the way Rachel calls out Brian for being charming. She's like, look, I don't know if I really should believe you because you got this charm thing down pat. And I feel a connection, but how do I know it's real? There's a point when the guys are arguing. I think it kind of gets to Rachel. It's right before the rose ceremony, and Rachel has a really hard decision. Rachel's sitting down and having confessionals with producer, talking about how she feels and how the air is in the house and the negativity and whatnot. And she low-key breaks down because she talks about how much pressure it is on her being the first African-American woman. Just a lot of pressure of being the Bachelorette, and the pressure of feeling like the Black community may be mad at her or turn their back on her or talk a lot of shit about her for choosing a guy who isn't Black. And, like, honestly, I don't think they gave her enough Black options. Personally, the one that stick out to me is Anthony. I mean, we'll see what Will is all about, but like Josiah seems a little cocky, and like, would you want to marry him? Like, maybe if you weren't a lawyer in your own right, like maybe you'd want to marry Josiah, but like there's something about him that seems like their energies aren't compatible in the long run. It feels like he's too much and she's probably a little bit low key, which is why I think out of all the Black men there, Anthony is the best for her. I also thought that Kenny might be a strong runner-up to Anthony, but after this episode, I don't think he is. I think that Kenny doesn't know when to tamp down his emotions, doesn't know when to, you know, put on airs and fake the funk. And I really do think that there was a way for Kenny to have the conversation with Lee without getting excited. Duh, like, he's on national TV and he's gonna argue with this, like, singer-songwriter white guy from Tennessee who's just clearly baiting him, and it's like he can't see it, and that he shouldn't take the bait, and he went ahead and took it. And I'm just like, And I think he realized his mistakes at the end of the episode as well. So this episode, I'm all over this recap because so much happened that it's hard for me to stay in order. So guys, just bear with me. I felt so bad for Rachel when she was crying. I just felt so bad for her because I understood where she was coming from. And I hope that that isn't the case for her because I support whoever she chooses. Like, I'm somebody who's open and interested in Black women being open and dating outside of the race. And I know that's like, you know, a hard line for some people, but like, Peter is fine, girl. Dean, fine, okay? Brian, fine. I mean, he's got like a cheekbone situation I'm not necessarily too much into, but like, girl, fine. And they seem like they're compatible and good matches, you know? And my friend Chris Farrah totally called it out. At first I was like, no, that's not why she's upset. And she's like, no, she's gonna pick Lee and she's sad and she feels a lot of pressure that Black people are gonna be mad at her because she's probably gonna let go of some other people and it's just gonna dwindle down. And I'm just like, no, that's not why she's upset. And apparently that's why she was upset, girl. All right, so the next thing that happens is she has a one-on-one date with Dean, and it's so cute. So Dean pretends to be scared of heights. You know, this is the fake part of the Bachelorette that I'm just not into. The staged things. They go, and there's this, like, concert with this, like, okay country star, I guess. I don't even know his name. And they're, like, elevated on this platform in the middle of this, like, fake crowd, and they're, like, slow dancing and, like, kissing. It's just, like, this whole thing that was just, like, bleh. And a lot of people are having conversation about Dean and his age. I personally don't think that his age necessarily has anything to do with them wanting to get together, but I think that I would feel guilty if I got with somebody who was so young and I was like, I'm ready for marriage and I'm ready for kids. Like, I just feel like 25, I mean, depending on who you are and where you're at and what your life goals are, 25 might seem like the perfect age. But for me, I think it's a little young. I mean, it isn't super young, but it's a little young. I think that you need the rest of your 20s in order to really like feel out who you are as a person, really get to have fun and complete your goals in life. And then around 32, 35, I think about settling and getting married and having kids and stuff, because by then you'll have understood who you are as a person and it'll be like a good place to move from. But I mean, if Dean says he's ready, like, girl, who am I to say otherwise? But I think if I were Rachel, I would feel bad, like knowing that there's other things for him to do in this world besides be booed up and have kids, you know? And he told this really great story about his mother, and that made me really sad too. Like, this is a really sad episode, guys. After the country music and the date with Dean, the next day she has a group date with basically all of them. It felt like it was a giant group date. They all went on a boat. She had a cute little sailor hat on. I mean, her melanin, she looked great. Her melanin was poppin', honey, poppin'. And it was just all of them like showing off on a boat. And then after that, there's a spelling bee. And it's really interesting, like, some of the things that people got off. Like, I was like, Peter, you don't know how to spell coitus? And I was actually really proud that the last two people standing were Will and Josiah. Like, I was like, okay, Black men who know how to spell. I was actually really proud of Josiah in that moment too. And I could see how attractive he is and cute he is. This is the techie part of it. The music for Josiah winning the spelling bee was just so extra. It was just so overdone. And him drinking out of the trophy, like drinking his... he was just really extra this episode, and maybe it's because we didn't see him in the last episode that he felt like he needed to like do the absolute most to get his screen time, but it was like a little calm down. I still don't like Eric, but Rachel likes Eric, so you know, whatever. Iggy is so desperate. I feel like he has yet to make his mark, and so he's just doing everything he can to try to snake his way in. Like the whole like, I really feel protective of Rachel, so I'm gonna let her know the guys that aren't right for her. That like vibe is just so... But I don't know. It's like, I remember last week I was like, no, it's a competition. You do what you gotta do. But this week I'm just like, come on, mind your own business. Like, I don't know. He needs to go. I don't know how he got a rose this time. And maybe it's because she feels like she didn't give him a chance yet. But I don't know how he got a rose because he's just so whack. Like, he's just like, you just telling? And then he comes out and is just like, I want to be honest, you know, I'm having a conversation with Rachel, and then she brings up your name. And I'm like, stop lying. You brought up his name. Why are you trying to make it seem like she was the one who was inquiring about how the other guys in the house are? She wasn't. You're the one who wanted to tell her all the tea. Like, I don't like that. Like, if you're gonna tell on yourself, at least tell the truth. Don't tell a lie. And then Josiah making this like statement about Iggy putting steroids, like, using steroids. Like, Josiah straight up said he uses drugs, he uses steroids, and he injects it in his, like, I was like, what? Can we go in on that? Producers, like, can we explain, can we have a confessional where Josiah tells us more information about that? And next week is going to be a 2-hour series, a 2-hour episode, or a 2-day event, something. We're getting double our money for next week because I think too much issues going down. It seems like Kenny and Lee are fighting again, which is another reason why I'm just like, Kenny is not here for the long run. Like, I need somebody who knows how to behave. And like, I feel like he allows his emotions and his like machismo and this like masculinity of like, no one's gonna disrespect me to like get in the way of like him actually winning her heart and playing this game. And I have to kick him out of my top. I mean, Chris actually told me that it isn't top 5, it's top 4. So that's one thing I need to adjust, but I'm going to kick him out. I don't know. It seemed like there was going to be a fight next episode. I'm here for all of it. So yeah, let's go with my top 4 for this episode so far. Brian, Peter, Dean, and Anthony. They're my top 4. Like, I think that they're the best choices. I really like Dean. I really like Anthony. I think that Brian will be fun. Alright guys, so that's it. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode of The Bachelorette Season 13 with Rachel Lindsay, and I hope you guys have a good week. Alright, bye.